This podcast is sponsored by RSA Rock and Metal Fans Facebook page.
How's it, man?
Hey, there you are. Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Sorry, I'm sitting here in the airport in Durban and I had to get through the turnstiles and the scanners and all that sort of shit.
Oh, okay. We've got a really bad connection, and you've got a bad flight out of there. Are you going somewhere, or are you coming in from somewhere?
I'm coming in from Durban.
You're coming in from Durban. Okay. Where have you landed?
Yeah. No, I mean I've just done some business in Durban, and I'm sitting here in the airport waiting for my flight late tonight.
Ah, okay. You're heading back to Josie.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you, man. yeah, I'll tell you what. Fuck airports, man. You have my sympathy. I'll tell you.
Well, at least I'm busy, I tell you.
Well, you know what? In this day and age, and in these really fucked up times, kudos to you, man. Well done. You've actually got a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if this was a visual podcast, I think people would be going, "Fuck, that guy just shakes his head all the time." And I'm talking about myself now. You know, like every question I ask, I'm going, "Oh, that's such a dumbass thing to say. You stupid git." I constantly shaking my head. I go, really? God. So Mark, let's crack on, because I know time is of the essence, and we've got a half an hour. So, firstly, how are you doing?
Doing okay, but a bit rushed, but yeah, very well, thanks.
Cool. Okay, so let me jump straight in. Why the Fismits?
Yeah. What do you mean? Why the Fismits? Why the name? Why the band? What?
Yeah, I had a conversation with the guy last night, and the name of the band is Fourth Sun South. Excellent band, yes. But a fucking mouthful. Can you imagine being drunk and trying to say? I mean, I tried it last night. It was hilarious. I fucked it up about 4 times in a row, and I couldn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
So I said to the wife, I'm going to be doing a chat with Mark, and he's from the Fismits, and she goes, Fismits.
Yes.
Like no, Fismits. No, I heard you, Fismits.
Yes.
So how did you get the name, man?
The name came about really as an evolution out of the previous band. We were a bunch of musos that sort of evolved out of a previous band, and then the lineup kept changing, and it was kind of like when I looked around, we were now a 3-piece, and it was like, it didn't fit us. So we couldn't call ourselves the Misfits, because that name has already been taken.
Just slightly, yeah.
Yeah, so when I was at university or whatever, there was this fashion of swapping letters around in a word, you know.
Right,
so
okay.
If we just go with Fismits, it makes sense, because it's the Misfits that didn't want to fit together, so therefore the whole spelling gets turned upside down. So there we go.
Okay, well that's probably the simplest explanation I've had to a band name yet. So well done to you.
Yeah. There's not much to it, dude.
Okay, so this all started back in 2016.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Okay, so 3-piece. Do you find that you have, as the guitarist, do you have more work to do, or is to fill in space, or are you looking to have space open to let the music sort of like do the talking to the audience?
I think definitely for me, the latter.
Okay.
You know, it is nice to have 2 guitars, 1 guy behind you. You can build up the power. You know, you can get together and do the same thing, and then you can also sort of diversify. But I'm a very chunky guitar kind of player. I like you know, being influenced a lot by the punk kind of vibe. So I like to, you know, play big chords, and, you know, play all 6 strings, as opposed to the metal guys who will stick on 2 strings and play riffs, and they have to be very tight. So my loose, uneducated guitar style works with a 3-piece, because I've got a lot more space, you know, to get big or discordy or whatever the case may be,
Yeah, I mean, you just said they're punk. Do you class this as punk or because I'm gonna lead this to another question, but what do you class the Fismits as?
I wouldn't class it as punk. I would say I grew up in being very influenced by the punk sound of the late 70s. So it's probably there, but I wouldn't classify Fismits as punk. I would put it, in the very unspecific genre of alternative indie rock.
You see, now when I was listening to the album, not so much the EP, because I found the EP it wasn't as substantial sounding as, although very good, not substantial sounding as before the Hindsight, and I'll say that because that's exactly where I'm leading to my next question. Is, to me, it's almost new wave 80s.
Yeah, well, you're talking to an 80s baby, so he grew up on Depeche Mode and that sort of stuff. So there's definitely that, it has to come through. It's in my DNA, whether I try to deny it or accept it. It's going to be there. I definitely think. Just remember, with the first EP, we were actually a 4-piece with a keyboard.
Okay.
And the keyboardist sort of fell away sort of towards the end of 2017 when his wife fell pregnant, and he decided he'd rather focus on day job and focus on the family, which is a noble thing to do. So we didn't replace him, and we carried on as a 3-piece. And then we had time to mature before we finished off the album. So there's a lot of water under that bridge, I think.
What 80s influences? Name 6 bands. Go. 5 seconds left. 4, 3. Just kidding.
So it's going to be Depeche Mode. It's going to be the Smiths. There's going to be some Cure in there. We can definitely throw in the Clash because they were around in the 80s, although the 70s a lot better. I mean, if I got more, 2 more to go. Definitely Madness would be an influence, or be an influence for me, not necessarily in the band. One more left, 80s. There has to be something left of center in there, something like Thompson Twins, or
there you go, Human League.
But I
or
would probably
like
say, it's
Level 42 maybe, or something.
No. You see, now I'm denying my whole goth state.
Okay, right. Maybe some Billy Idol even, perhaps. Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm an 80s child, so I can relate big time. And when I heard the album, and this is going to be a dual-parted question, but to me, when I was listening to the album, it sounded like it's 2 halves, because I know that the album was recorded between 2017 and 2020. I mean, that's 3 years of different influences and things happening and so on. And the album kind of relates to that sort of those 3 years.
Well, I think it goes back further. You must remember that when you get older, you're still acquiring songs over time. Yeah. So there are some songs in there that were written in the early 90s, and there are some songs in there that were written 3 weeks before I finished the album.
Okay.
So you've got more than 3 years of songwriting in there, and let's say song manipulation,
right?
And, song. I don't know what the word is when you're working a song, and you would have dropped a chorus, or you would have added in a new chorus to something that wasn't there in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, it's a. How can I say this? It's, to me, okay, I'll just repeat it. Fuck it, whatever. To me, it just sounds like it's 2 halves, and the second half just smacks more of 80s than the first half. But then I listened to the album again today, and I was like, but hang on now. The first half sounds pretty similar to the second half now. And then I listened again, and I was going, no, the second half, and I was having an argument with my fucking self.
Perfect. I've done my job.
You're trying to confuse people. It's working, but it doesn't take much. I am a natural blonde after all, so
I mean, you must see that it's the debate. I went into this thinking song X was going to be the song to push, and then I send the preview out to a few people before we released the album as we were doing rough mixes, and then they came back. Each person came back with a different song, so that left me confused. Then we finished the album, and then I give it to a whole bunch of other people, and now they're telling me a different set of songs. So I think we're all very confused, and I would take that as probably a good thing. But I'm not sure.
I think it's a very good thing.
It just makes the sharp point of the album a bit more different. But hey.
Yeah, but no, but that's, I mean, you know, if you go and look at music today, it's all very much similar sounding. I'm talking about like a full album from a band. It's also all very sort of like similar. You can tell that it's been recorded in the last 9 months or a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is different. And the album is, when is the album out? Is it out today or when is it out?
No, it was out about 6 weeks ago.
Okay, so it's out already. Okay, so people who have listened to it might understand exactly what I'm trying to say. Is that you get songs like One Dead Friend, and then all of a sudden you're like fucking loving Nothing to Lose, and then all of a sudden you're leaving Doesn't Make Sense. It's like an eclectic bunch, but sounds familiar and similar. I know I can't put my goddamn finger on it. Also know that it works.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. At least it does that.
Well, it's doing something, you know. Maybe I'm just talking shit. I don't know. I mean, you know, that's just the way I'm just trying to interpret at least. I mean, it's good. It's really good. It's right up my alley. I'm an 80s, like I said before, but anyway. So, I mean, why did it take so long to record the album then?
I think it's difficult to put it in a few sentences. So 2017, beginning of 2017, we dropped the first EP with the keyboardist, like I said.
Yep.
Then we start, you start gigging that. And obviously there were songs we were playing from before the Hindsight that were in that set already. But then you lose your keyboardist. 6 months later, he jumped ship. So then you refine the sound now to fit with a three-piece. So the arrangements change slightly, whatever the case may be. And you also give up the idea of looking for a keyboard. So there's time in debate. And then, 7 or 8 months later, my then bass player decides he can't commit fully to my vision as the band, and I have to, we have to part ways. So then I have to find another bass player. But we've recorded songs with the previous bass player. So it's again new bass player, new dynamic, very different styles. So then it's a case of acquiring stuff, and then in going into 2019, my drummer then announces that end of 2019 his wife has decided she's moving to the United States.
Oh, come on now.
And he's buggering off. So I have to admit that going into the first half of 2019, I had kind of lost my mojo in it because, it was again another setback. So we slowed down. Obviously the gig slowed down. I wasn't planning very forward. While Luke, the drummer, was around, we were still doing the odd show, but I wasn't aggressively wanting to do anything because it was kind of like, the end was nigh. Yeah. And to pick up this band again for the third or fourth time. And then, then thankfully in our world, sort of COVID hits. And I then sit down.
Thankfully, did you say?
Because I have a family, so I'm not standing on the side of the cricket field or wherever on every weekend now. I'm sitting at home on the weekend. Right. And I decide, let me take stock of what we've done over the last 3 years. Right. And suddenly realized we were a couple of vocal takes away and a couple of mixes away from actually finishing an album. Wow. And so I sweated my ass and did something over that.
Did you realize, oh shit, here we go, I better get a crack on,
That was I don't know, there's what the people go through 7 stages of whatever, so I had to go through grief. I had to go through denial, and then I had to go through acceptance, and then I had to get my mojo back and say, okay, let's flip and do this. There's a chapter that needed to be documented, so let's document the thing and let's set up for the next stage.
So, I mean, this is really an album that has got a lot of everything, like emotions and stories and so on. And one of the stories is leaving doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
So it's a very twisted song, but the essence of the song is it's written about one of my best friends at university who took his own life a couple of years, not years ago, but it's probably 15 years ago.
Wow.
So that was the song I sort of detailed. It's almost him as, you know, describing the act of it, which is, it's quite dark and quite a dark topic. But yeah, it was something that hit us all of a sudden. And yeah, I wrote the song.
It's a beautiful song, beautifully haunting.
Yes.
And that's the one song that actually threw me for a loop. The whole album is like sort of like up tempo, and all of a sudden it's just you and the guitar. And it's like,
yeah, the last two do sort of like drive home.
I was just going to say that the last track, Rider, is kind of like a continuation of Leaving Doesn't Make Sense.
Well, it's the same theme, just pushed down back to, you know, an infant dying before they even got a chance to live.
Wow.
You know, that's what it's about. So
what a way to end an album. Jeez.
A family tragedy. When you get the news, I go to my guitar. That's the only way. I'm not a very emotional person, like a huggy, you know, phone. You know, it's. I deal with things through music.
Right.
You know, so that's what you do.
Yeah. No. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Those last two songs are. You can sense the emotion and everything that's in there. It's beautifully haunting, as I say. Very, very nice. Now, as a radio presenter. All right.
Yes.
You've worked at Mix FM, and you currently work at Rebel Rock Radio. How easy or how hard is it for indie bands to get on the radio?
I think it's easier than you think. I think it's just a case of submitting. I think commercial radio is difficult.
Why is it difficult?
So if you want to classify Mix FM as commercial radio, daytime radio, I think you're going to struggle because they tend to look at the 3-minute 30 or the 3-minute 40 track, and then it has to appeal to daytime audience. So if you're an indie band who writes hard-hitting, straightforward, I'm not a lyrical poet, I call a spade, and therefore, you know, like you mentioned, I've dealt with death and I've dealt with alcoholism in this album. I've dealt with quite a few things. And people who are listening to that at 10 o'clock in the morning in the office, Mix FM, and these guys don't really believe their audience want to hear that. I understand that. Yeah. But, you know, it's not something I agree with. So nighttime radio, and then definitely independent internet radio, there is a lot of guys who will play your stuff.
Yeah.
If, you know, I haven't been rejected in by any of those cats, whether it's guys in overseas or local. They're all very keen to play your stuff. Daytime radio, commercial radio, you need to be, aligning your genre needs to align with the flavor that's currently happening.
Yeah.
And I understand.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. No, I get that. Only reason why I'm asking is because when I got into not only doing this, but for distribution for artists, one of the things I was looking at is contacting radio stations. And I used a list that Duzzy Clayton from SME Fusion Radio gave to me. And it was about 17 pages of contact names, email addresses, where they're based. It was such a list. And I emailed them, and there was probably about maybe 300 email addresses. And I think 1 or 2 replied, and the rest just bounced back. So, I mean, it's a thankless task getting in touch with these radio stations.
I think I agree. I do think you need somebody who knows the game. I mean, even I, who've been doing this for so many bloody years, I eventually when I finished the album, and then I realized now I need to market this album, I need to sell this album, and I'm used to that. You know, I'm very good at quite a few things, but I know that I'm used to sales. So I've had to outsource that department. And
well, you've got the octopus himself on your side, so you know what an octopus is, right? He's got 8 arms and 3 fucking hearts. He's all power, man. He's all power.
Like we're sitting in the airport having this interview. He's got me on a bloody hamster wheel every night this week.
Yeah, that's Devo. He's got everybody on the octopus wheel, man. You know, one of those rides that goes around the octopus. Yeah, that's him, man. I'll tell you what. So,
a serious case, so be careful for what you wish for.
You want PR, you got it.
Yeah.
So how did you sort of one day just decide to pick up a guitar and just play, or how did it happen?
I was dragged kicking and screaming to piano lessons from the age of 7. And at the age of probably in the middle of high school, somewhere along the line, I eventually convinced my mother, listen, I am done with this rubbish. It's getting me nowhere. But it's because my teacher was a very classical person, and it was just killing me. You know, in the meantime, you're listening to music. I had an uncle who wasn't much older than me, who was very much into heavy 70s rock. So when I would arrive to visit my grandmother, the house was literally shaking with Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. And
nice. Nothing wrong with that.
I would sit as an 8-year-old on the floor listening to the music this 18-year-old was playing, and it was loud, and I would be paging through Scope magazine and things like that. to 70s hard rock. And so there was that influence, and he would make sure that every time I left, he would just give me one of his albums.
So magic.
And then he gave me a record player when I was 12 or so. So I got to play these records. So between him and a little bit of the music training when I was sort of going into the back end of high school, I then told my mother that I wanted a guitar for Christmas, and she bluntly told me no, because I gave up piano lessons. That's it. So eventually I bought my own guitar, and my cousin, who was in my first band, him and I started learning. He liked the bass, and we learned to play together. And then when I went to varsity, I found myself in bands, failing university horribly, but playing in a lot of bands and having a good job.
It sounds like the rock and roll sort of story, man. That's how it all starts, man. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but there's no education other than the horrible 7 years, or however many years I had a piano, that I can't remember a damn thing other than play a few lines. When I saw jazz musos play piano, I was like, why didn't they teach me to play like that?
You see now. I would tend to go. I'd be more happier to learn rock and roll than classical. Absolutely, because classical just wouldn't. I mean, I love classical music, but it just wouldn't grab my attention to learn.
Yeah, or just realize, say to me, now I've got kids who are starting to look at interest, and the instruction to the teacher was very simple. Teach them the chords, all the voicings and all that, but also ask them, what song do you want to learn how to play? And then teach that song. So whether it's a stupid song from some computer game that all these kids are listening to, Five Nights at Freddy or something like that, teach the kid how to play that silly tune, because it's going to go way further than learning some Beethoven, but the Beethoven will ground him,
Yeah, the Beethoven can come at a later stage when you've got the ear to listen to it and understand it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think that's a fantastic way for a teacher to say, what song do you want to learn? And you do it together as a part of your lesson. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff it's there, and also you learn different styles. If the teacher had said to me, bring me a song and we can play it, I would probably be a way better piano player / keyboard player than I currently am.
No, it's true. It makes perfect sense. Any teachers listening, piano teachers, that's how you got to do it. We are the future. We know what we're talking about. So Mark, tell me, the vocal thing, how did that come about now?
Oh, okay, that's another journey. So if you zoom back to if you zoom back to 2016, just before the Fismits, there was a temporary band called the Theembers band, which was sort of, I was playing in church, and a whole bunch of the other church guys. Incidentally, all the members of the Fismits, the current lineup, were also all out of those that sort of church stable a while back.
Okay.
So we're all playing in church and
here
learning.
I am cussing and swearing, so I apologize for that.
Yeah. Don't worry, I fall off the bus every hour.
Particularly when you're stuck in Durban Airport, yeah.
Yeah, and you miss your flight.
Oh, no, No, I swear
Yeah,
like
it's
a
a
damn
constant-
trooper. Yeah, okay, sorry, carry on.
So there was this big drive to form an outside band. We're going to
Right.
go the dark side. Okay,
Right.
so we decided to form an outside band, and we had a band called the Theembers band, and we recorded 3 songs, and it was a phenomenal sounding band. And then after 6 months, and starting to sort of make headway here on the local scene in Joburg, and then all of a sudden, the drummer stops arriving at practice, and the lead singer stops arriving at practice.
Oh, no.
Here's this tale of the Fismits / Misfits, whatever you want to call it again. And we were all landed up looking at each other on a Wednesday night when it's band practice, and it's just me. And then I managed to get Luke out, the drummer that was in the Fismits, and we decided to continue as that 4-piece, and we kept auditioning singers,
Mhm.
and they just never came back. And then my keyboardist, Seppo, he just said to me, "Mark, just sing your own damn songs and let's move on."
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, did he know you could sing?
No, it's probably the toughest thing I've done. I've been in charge of many employees in my life. I've stood up in front of many people and played music. I've stood up and talked at conferences, IT conferences around the world. And I tell you what, singing in front of 3 people in a local pub for the first time was probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Really? Eh? Wow.
Yeah. So the singing is something I have to work at. So but it's more of I've realized it's actually a confidence thing, and I think it goes back to, again, if we want to send messages to teachers, it goes back to primary school when we did like a pantomime,
Mhm.
and they auditioned you to sing, and they said, this Piaget character, no, he can't sing, give him an acting part. So from the age of 12, I was told I couldn't sing, so therefore I believed I couldn't sing.
Mm.
So
And we're so influenced by our peers, and that can be such a damaging thing.
Yeah, and it's actually like when you start realizing it. I mean, if I grew up maybe being a footballer in England or a football fan in England, singing every Saturday afternoon the songs of football, I would probably realize that everybody can sing.
Yeah.
And, there's obviously brilliant singers, but everybody can probably just put out a tune, and it's actually got more to do with confidence and just letting go than it actually does with, then once you're at that point, you can then refine your technique and become, then you need to rely on God-given talents. Were you first in line when God was giving out vocal cords, or were you at the back of them?
Yeah.
Either way, you should be able to, you should be able to at least belt out a tune.
I was at the back of both, so yeah. That's why I do this. I don't do. No, I can hold a note. No, I'm okay. So I mean, your singing style there's a bit like a raspy tone to the vocal cords. Was that something that was natural, or was it something that you sort of like learned to do over time and sort of hone your skills?
No, I think it is what it is. I think when I shout or when I sing, I've just learned to just open up, and a lot of the kudos for that must go to my drummer Luke, that's now in the US. He would just say to me, Mark, when you let it go, don't try being too melodic, just let it go, it sounds great. So having guys around you that are pushing you is a great thing to have when you're trying to figure out what you do.
So what is the technique that you do to warm up then? Or do you not?
I do try warm up, but then I'm just working through a few scales and things like that. I've got a crappy app on my phone, and I'll stick the headphones in while I'm driving to the gig, and I'll just try warm up a little bit. But it's pretty much, it is what it is. I don't want to try, and because the app also scores you every time you hit a wrong note, so you don't want to arrive there having failed the test.
Jeez, everything is putting everybody under pressure these days. Jeez, even an app on a phone, man, is judging you. No, come on, man.
Exactly.
Gee, that is not good.
Remember, I've never had a vocal lesson in my life.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is have you not had any lessons in either?
No, either. Guitar. Yes, I should have probably taught myself. I should have got somebody to fix my problems. So now I just embrace my problems, and I think I'm just going the same way with vocals. I think if a teacher got involved, they would probably just, it's like a bowling action, a cricketer. If he's bowling at 140 k's an hour, just leave him.
Yeah, he's bound to get a wicket now and then.
So what if he looks weird while doing it? Leave him. That's where I am. Just leave me alone.
So you were saying earlier, Mark, that the stuff from there's stuff from the 90s that made it on the album and old riffs here and there and so on. So what have you got new music lined up for beyond the before the Hindsight?
What do you mean, stuff that hasn't been, that isn't on before?
I mean, is there stuff that you're sort of penning down now for the next album, or?
Well, there's still, on the cutting room floor, so to say, there's still probably another album's worth of stuff that either wasn't, that we actually went into record to put on what was either going to be an EP, a series of EPs, or an album, that I just looked at when I took stock and said, actually, there's still too much to be done. So that stuff needs to be finished off. But I do want to spend some time just sort of evolving the next, because like I say, we've just got ourselves a new drummer now, so we're trying to get him up to speed as fast as we can. And Arthur brings to another dynamic. He's a different drummer to Luke. So again, we need to I just want to see what the natural organic sound is going to be, as opposed to going in and trying to finish something that was actually part of a different chapter.
So are you guys getting together now and practicing and stuff like that? And any shows lined up?
We don't have any official shows. I'm trying to line up a show for the end of the month with a new band just to go and shake out the cobwebs.
Yeah.
We do have 2 acoustic stripped down sets that we're doing for Rebel Rock Radio. Is the one we're doing tomorrow night, and then one on Friday night. I can't remember for you. This is again Devo got me on the flipping hamster wheel.
That octopus arm's got you, man.
Yeah, I tried to get out of a couple of them, and he just said to me, Mark, if we get out of this one, then
you're not going to get on the next one. Yeah.
The window goes for 4 weeks or something. So it's okay. Let's go. So so we're doing a stripped down thing. Just 3 or 4 songs. So we've been prepping that this week, and then I'm hoping to get a full set sort of around the 27th. I'm looking for a date. It might be something like AJ's. I'm not sure yet.
Is this on Rebel Rock Radio? Is this a normal thing that bands can do?
What do you mean?
As in like if they wanted to be on do a stripped down show on Rebel Rock Radio?
I'm not sure on the protocol. That's something Van does. So Devo said to me, "Are you keen for one?" I said, "Look, because I'm a presenter on Rebel Rock Radio, I don't want to be trying to push my own band on my own radio shows.
Right.
It's not something I want to do. I stay away from playing my music on my shows. Other guys can play my music. I just don't want. It's a bit of a conflict of interest,
Yeah, no,
I don't want people to think that I am a presenter to punt my music.
But is the strip down thing? Is it a weekly thing, or is it a monthly thing, or is it just a one-off?
It's an ad hoc thing. I think definitely that I think bands should, if they feel that they want to do something like that. It's called Rocktails. So Van does an interview and you do like a stripped down recording, and then they put it out on a Saturday afternoon.
Okay, and bands can contact you guys.
Yeah,
okay.
I definitely contact Rebel Rock Radio, and it is Van's what do you call it? It's his idea and his feature.
Right.
So it's up to his it's his decision to say yay or nay, you know, and the exact criteria, I'm not 100% sure, you know.
Okay, cool. No, I just thought I'd, ask in case there were bands listening going, hey, that'll be cool to do. But okay, so get in touch with Rebel Rock Radio and Vans and see where it takes you. So what is the message of the Fismits?
What kind of question is that?
Come on, every band has a message that, like they're trying to not necessarily portray or put out there, but there must be some sort of message behind the music. Get off your ass and have some fun, basically.
Yeah, I think when I'm not an ACDC kind of band, which that would be their message, I would imagine. Right. I think for me, I take music seriously, and the songs I write about and will write about will generally be serious things. So I like to have something that's gonna maybe do some, tangle with your mind or make you think a different way or be slightly controversial.
Right.
But ultimately it is about rock and roll. So it's got to sound good and you've got to close your eyes and enjoy it. Whether you're feeling the same emotion that I did when I wrote the song or performed the song is actually irrelevant. So it's a bit difficult. I don't think we're definitely not a party band. We're not going to go and play your bar mitzvah or your wedding. So it's difficult when you say that. I think it's a case of I'm going to write, and when Arthur and them bring their music into the stable and it fits, we're going to play it. We'll just follow the song. I think it's important. It's a line I read from reading one of Neil Young's biographies.
Right.
It's a case of like follow the song. When you bring the song, follow the song, and don't try and make that song into something else.
Yeah.
So doesn't really answer
sound. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. So I mean, with everything that's happened in 2020 with COVID and everything like that, what are your survival tips for bands?
I don't know if it's a survival tip for bands. I think the survival tip for anything is, I think we just got to keep going. You got to keep doing something. You got to get up in the morning and you got to try and do something. Yeah. Even though, you're probably going to get rejected a million times. And, so and I think the idea, and I know this from writing too many lines of code in my life, it's kind of like when something doesn't work, analyze it, change it, and then give it horns on the next stab. And if it doesn't work, change it. If something works, repeat it,
Yeah.
And that way you get to, you get to know yourself, you get to know what you're trying to do, and you also, and it's also like golf. When you're playing, I'm not a big golfer, but like Oaks will hack themselves around the course, but when they get off the course, they'll tell you about that one shot.
Mm-hmm.
They hit purely straight, and that gives them energy to come back for the next round of golf.
The problem is with that silly bloody game is trying to replicate that perfect shot.
Yeah, well, I think we overthink things anyway.
Yeah, well, definitely with golf, because I played it for a couple of years, and I'm never touching that game ever again.
I used to play many years ago. I haven't played for about 15 years, so I'm probably off. But I just look at it, and it's the same thing. It's like you can send your music off and get rejection after all. Actually, you don't get rejection, you just get nothing.
You get nothing. Exactly.
It's an empty space. You only get back positive feedback. But it's like that with this album. I sent off stuff, and then people say, yes, cool, we'll take a listen, and then you get nothing, and then you get nothing, and then you think, and you've got a list of 50 people, and what you're doing is I'm sending off to 7 or 8 at a time, just so I can batch my disappointment a little bit. And then you send off 7 and you get nothing, and then you think, okay, let me just muster up the gusto to flip and send the next 7, and then you get one reply. You think, okay, cool, I can send off. And then the next day you open up your inbox and then 3 guys from the previous batch suddenly reply. And then you're going. But if you don't, if you don't just freaking, just keep trying, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. No, keep on trying. That's it.
Yeah.
So finally, the last question is your rig rundown. It's the one I always ask the artists. What are you playing and what on what?
Like technical stuff, like what
Yeah, like
guitar,
technical stuff. Okay, let's make this a little easier. What is the make of the guitar?
Oh, guitars. The best thing about being a user is I managed to get a day job, which allows me to buy a few guitars. So,
you see, this is unfair. Okay, right. How many have you got?
No, I've got 6, but one is a bass and
I've only got 6.
Acoustic. So there's 4 electrics. There is a Fender Tele, another Fender Tele, and then there is an Epiphone Les Paul, and then there's an Ibanez Artist, which is, and all of them are, other than the 2 Fender Teles, they're all very vintage, which is quite cool. I've had them for a long time. It's not like I bought them last year. Yeah. I've had them for at least 10, 12 years. I think the youngest one is 10 or 12 years old.
One of the artists that I had a podcast with, and I'm looking at my whiteboard to see if I can remember. No, I can't. And I'm sure it was Deity's Muse, and I said, asked exactly the same question. Well, what's your rig rundown? And he said, well, of which one? I said, well, how many have you got? 17 guitars.
No, it's. I work with a bunch of guys, and I mean, this guy, I've never seen him play live. I've known him for well over 2 years now, and I mean, he must own also close to 15, 20 guitars, and that's high-end stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm still waiting to buy the Gibson one day. I could afford the Fender, but I haven't been able to. I keep thinking, this album needs to be a success, so I can go to Marshall and say, how about it?
So Marshall, if you're listening, we need an endorsement for Mark, please. What amp do you play through then? Is it a Marshall amp? Marshall stack?
Laney valve.
Oh,
I've got a Laney valve. Wow. It's a Cub 15 or something. It's medium sized for a medium sized club, but I love a straight valve, so I love the sound of it.
What is it about the sound with valve amps?
Yeah, no, it's just great, and that's the sound on the album. I think for all but one song, it's that album with 2 mics in front of it. All the guitars go through that at sitting at a good half volume or whatever the case may be. And then I got a whole bunch of, I've got about 6 or 7 pedals that I play, old analog.
Do you know what they are?
Yeah, I've got.
That one makes a noise, and that one goes boop, 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 noise, and that thing goes wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, I've got one of those that go wow, wow, wow. That was hot rodded by some guy in Benoni, believe it or not. He did a modification to it, which makes it sound really weird, but it's cool. And then there's an MXR distortion. There's an MXR phaser in there. I'm an MXR fan. There's an MXR delay in there.
Wow. Okay.
And then there's another drive, I think. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. It's not overboard, No,
it's
not
just
17 guitars and a massive pedal bank,
Yeah, no, it's not that, And even on the album, I didn't do the effects. All came off the pedal board. There was very little after. I think maybe on like some of the more surfier sound guitars, that would probably just go straight into the
surf
desk
punk.
because
I
can't get that, that big Gretsch kind of, or that sort of clang, that twang sound. Probably. I think there was a sound called Surfs Up or something, and then I would just tweak.
So what are the plans for 2021 then, Mark?
I think the plans are definitely, we're almost at the end of 2020. I just need to, I want to just stabilize the Fismits and then see where we can go. It'd be great to play a few shows and a couple of festivals maybe. And then, we all got our day jobs and that sort of thing, and just take it sort of 1 month at a time. I think that's where I definitely think there's another chapter. I'm keen to see what that sound looks like or sounds like. But there's still a lot to come, but I'm not going to try and put too many goals on paper because I think things change. And if 2020 carries on like this without bands performing, it's going to be interesting to see how we all reinvent what playing in a band means, actually.
Yeah, I can't even bear to think what it would be like. But anyway, be that as it may, it's going to be an interesting ride. So out of the EP and the album Before the Hindsight, these are now available on all digital platforms, right?
Yeah, they're all on all digital platforms. The EP was available a long time ago, and then if anybody wants a cool looking CD, the CD for Before the Hindsight actually includes the Anywhere EP on, and then they can just send us an email. And I think the price last time I looked was like $50, and we plus shipping, and we'll ship it off to you. Wow. I just felt like I do something a bit more concrete. That idea of the 8-year-old sitting, listening to his uncle's albums and flipping through. When you're looking at the albums like Physical Graffiti of Led Zeppelin, you're looking at Fleetwood Mac's Tusk. It's just the idea of listening to music while flipping through those double albums and get the art.
Looking at all the pictures and all the art and everything.
This MP3 thing does kind of ruin music, and you can't just.
Are you one of those that just like bring back vinyl? And I love vinyl. I'd trade every single MP3 for vinyl any day.
I definitely think so, although vinyl has I think we need something like vinyl with the convenience of MP3 or something like that. I don't know what it looks like, but music needs to be more tangible. It
needs to be more physical.
Yeah, that's probably a better word than tangible.
You know what I mean? It's like you say, something to hold, something that you can get excited about and take 5 minutes out of your life to read through the liner notes and see who they're thanking and stuff.
In the 80s and the 90s, we would literally spend Saturdays and Sundays going to flea markets, and if you were lucky, you could hit Hillbrow Records or Look and Listen or wherever, and you would spend hours. My girlfriend, who is now my wife, would go absolutely berserk because I would spend hours with my friends just flicking through the records.
There's nothing better.
And in second-hand record shops in Durban when I was studying and things like that, and when you found something you'd been looking for 3-4 years, you grabbed it.
Yeah.
Now I've got a bloody Apple Music or whatever, and I've got it, and it's not the same experience.
No,
so therefore, I don't appreciate the music the same way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's something physically and emotionally that used to be linked to holding something physical has gone missing. I don't know how you get that back though. That's the only thing, because people are genetically very lazy and apathetic and couldn't be asked and that sort of thing. So I think that's the difficult bridge to kind of get over. And one of the bands actually, Finnish band called BoMlulu, their singer wanted to send me the CD, and I said to him, yeah, sure thing. And they went to his post office and they just said, no, not sent to South Africa because of COVID restrictions. So I was like, bloody hell. So what do you do now? So he said, well, how about this? So he sent me the MP3s and he sent me a PDF booklet of the CD, like a printout for myself, and, put it together and there you go. Next best thing, sure, it would have been nice to have it really nice glossy print and be able to touch a proper printed CD. Yeah, there's got to be something sort of like hovering there that in between the universe and this, that can make us want to hold music again.
Yeah, but it's probably like a virtual experience. We have to put on goggles or something.
You see, that just doesn't interest me. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, it's a different way of thinking at it, looking at it. But yeah, I'm old school. I'm an old soul. Yeah. Anyway, Mark, I just want to say thanks for reaching out, and thanks to Devo PR Music and the Octopus, as I like to call him now, for hooking us up to have a chat, man. That's an awesome album. I'm going to give the EP a couple of more listens and sort of like concentrate harder. But I definitely love Before the Hindsight, particularly the second half, first half, middle half, and the whole album half. Yeah, I can't make up my mind what I like the most, but I guess that's the whole point. You should just like everything. And not only that, on my Spotify Talk to Trev playlist, of all the bands that I've had a podcast with, I put one of their songs on. I'm going to put Nothing to Lose on.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. It's a great song.
Thanks.
It's a great album. Congratulations. And I wish you well for the music journey of the Fismits.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks again. Keep well, be safe, and travel safe.
I will do. Thank you, man.
All right. Cheers, Mark.
Ciao.